Hello, everyone. This is Becca Victoria. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, RTT practitioner and therapist, and NTT coach, therapist, and practitioner. Welcome to Embodied Shift. Jonah and I explore real change where subconscious healing meets higher guidance. And I'd like to thank you guys for being with us today. And we would really appreciate it if you could support us by subscribing. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jonah. I'm an intuitive coach, and my work's about remembering who you are and trusting your inner knowing. And our question today is, why can't you just think your way out of anxiety?
This is going to be a very fun topic, interesting topic. So, everyone talks about anxiety, right? But do we really actually know what it is? Or are we just living with it and calling it normal? So, first, I would like to explain what anxiety is. So, basically, our body's alarm system going off when there's no real emergency. So, we're going back to our think about our ancestors, right? They're very anxious about things because they think there's always harm's going to happen. And so we get that from them. So, but the thing is, our brain cannot tell the difference between a real threat and scary thoughts. So, our body responds the same way to both. Sometimes our heart racing, our chest tight, feel that tightness in our chest and our mind spinning. So I would like to ask Jonah about anxiety in terms of, or perhaps if you have if you could add more about what anxiety is.
So, anxiety is something that we have learned to program ourselves with. It comes from things that happens in your life. And as for myself, when I was diagnosed with Graves' disease, because there were moments of my heart would just be racing and I'm just gonna be dizzy and I don't know what's going on in my body. So I've developed that anxiety, not anticipating because it happens, when it happens, and I don't know what triggers it. And so I've developed that anxiety about things that sometimes triggers it. Like, for example, I would associate it with just, before it was like drinking a cup of coffee, but that would do that to you because of the caffeine. And I didn't know that. So I developed anxieties with caffeine. So even now I would probably call it trauma, but I stay away from those things. Or I love working out and I've developed anxiety about working out. So for years and years after my diagnosis, I haven't been able to work out like I used to. So there are things that happens to our life, or maybe relationships that have gone wrong in our past, and so we develop some sort of anxieties when we're in relationships, and so we might not be very trusting in those relationships. So we're always anxious, like our body's always thinking that we're in a worried state, and that really depends on every person on what level of anxiety they're experiencing at moments in their lives. So what do you think, Rebecca, happens subconsciously?
With anxiety, with my clients, they have that, they learned it at a very young age. For example, if that person grew up in a home, well, there always chaos. So they always feel like I'm not safe. I have to guard myself. For example, if the parents are fighting so much, so they feel like not feeling safe really, right? So they feel that anxiety because these are our basic needs, right? To feel safe, one of those needs that we need while we are during our in our childhood years. But when they don't get that, that's when they feel anxious. For example, the father is not, you don't know when that person's coming home because he's Maybe he has another family,
Mhm.
right? And that child is waiting for the father. So not knowing when that person is going to come back, when the father is going to come back, or maybe just working overseas, or maybe he's a soldier, right? If that child not having that, not knowing when
Mhm.
is my father is going to come back? So he formed or she formed this anxiety, feeling anxious about the unknown, which is the definition of anxiety. When we don't know what's going to happen, then we feel very anxious. We have that anxiety.
Yeah, when we worry about things that are not in our control, or we're anticipating something wrong is going to happen, and
Mhm.
we're feeling all those emotions in our body. And why can't we just, if we know anxiety is just being worried about something that may or may not happen, all right? So why is it so hard? Like, if we already know, and most of the time it doesn't happen,
Mhm.
why are we still doing it in our, why can't we control it?
Mhm. Yeah. It's a lot of the anxiety is connected to trauma, right? And trauma, as we all know, it's built in our every fiber of our being. So if we haven't released the trauma that we have, we would still feel that anxiety, right? So that's it's very important. It's a very good question, and we know that yes, who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? Who knows what's going to happen 5 minutes from now, right? And we just so feel so anxious. Again, we're going back to the trauma that we had. Like I said in the beginning, we could have that relationship anxiety because of what happened, bad relationship that happened, or a lot of people also, as a tennis player, they have this performance anxiety, right? They're so good doing in practice.
Mhm.
And then when they get to the real match, they're freaking out. But they know they can perform. But when they get there, they freeze or they can do the things that they're really good at. Then why is that? So basically, going back again to during childhood, right? They think that, oh, they get praise because they're doing good in school. They're having this good grades, all A's, right? So now having that anxiety either in school or sports, it stems from how they were treated as a child, that they felt like they have to perform all the time. I'm curious to know
Well,
if you have.
yeah, I know that you love playing tennis, and I know that you don't have that because I know you perform very, very well. So what can you share as your method, I guess, as your superpower to combat your performance anxiety?
Oh, that's what a beautiful question. And this is also that I want to share with the people that I know who has performance anxiety. But what I guess it's I don't put a lot of pressure on myself. And also I have people might laugh at me, but when even before I go on the court, I have this image in my head. I'm already performing in my head. I'm
Mhm.
already rehearsing what I'm gonna do, right? How does it look like when I go out there? How I'm gonna serve, how I'm gonna volley. So and I have mantra when I'm on the court, right? This is this is part of I say this all the time, right here, right now, because that's all that matters. What matter is right here, right now, as we talking, right? It doesn't matter what other people might say about our conversation, but that's my mantra, right here, right now. It doesn't matter what happens later or earlier. What matter is now, right? So I think that's one of the key why I don't have that anxiety. I don't feel anxious about my performance on the court because I'm just focusing right now.
I that's so important, and I think it's a magical thing to do because when I competed for figure modeling for bodybuilding years ago, since I never had that expectation.
Mm,
Because for me, I was competing because a friend of mine who owns the gym would want me to compete for him for the gym. And I have friends there and I love them. And I'd never seen a bodybuilding show. And I just went to have fun.
mm,
So I wasn't really thinking of competing.
mm,
So there's no pressure that I've given myself. There's no energy of wanting to win. I was just there to experience and have fun. And for my first and it was actually my first and only because it's not something that I wanted to do professionally, that I got placed. And I didn't even know what that meant.
mm. What does that mean? For it's
So
official for me. I
so
don't know.
like the being in the top five, because I had ladies like hold my hand and we were backstage because they called our numbers and they
Mm,
were jumping for joy and I was jumping for joy with them because I was there to have fun. And I
mm-hmm.
said, oh, I asked them, and this is so funny. I said, what are we jumping for? Because I didn't know. So I didn't really know how the show goes. I mean, I,
Mm,
I do what I was told, you know. And then we were like, because we're in the top five. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then, of course, we would go out again. And so they could,
mm-hmm.
we could do our poses again. But it's definitely not be yet not expecting
Mm-hmm.
too much, but really giving it your all and just be there to have fun.
Yeah. Be present, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, that's that's so going back to that competition and when you said that you're not expecting or was it already in your mind not to expect not have that expectation
No,
or
it wasn't because I wasn't thinking of winning, because my intention was just to be there for someone. So it
mm,
wasn't like personally for me who's like really wanting to be there to compete. So for me, there's an ease of, okay, I want to do well, but it
mm,
doesn't mean that if I don't do well, that it's the end of my life. Like so I welcome the opportunity. I've had fun with it, but it's not something where I said I want to compete because I want to do this professionally or I really want to be a bodybuilder. I didn't even know what that was.
mm-hmm.
And I was
S-
there because of a situation. I was just placed in there.
mm-hmm.
So it was being present and to just experience everything, and knowing me, if I would say I would do something, I would do something.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
just my core. So when I said I'm gonna compete for the gym, I would really compete for the gym. It's not like I'm not, you know, lifting weights, I'm not like, doing
Right.
my diet, right? So I was doing everything else, but it wasn't like a pressure to that it's gonna be so painful if I didn't win or if I didn't get a trophy or if, it's
Right.
not like a waste of time for me.
Yeah. Well, that's a good way to think about, like, for example, that kind of performance, right? Or for in your case, it's what do you call this again? It's not really building thing, but what do you call it?
Oh, they have different it's called figure modeling.
Figure
They have
modeling.
different like classes and
Oh, right. So for some people who sometimes they feel like, oh, I really have to win because for them it's so important. It's one of their um identity. That if they don't win, if they lose that game, if they don't perform in the office and or in their businesses, they feel like a failure, right? How would we help them to think otherwise, to think to flip that mental that mindset?
recognizing that there's a void. So people compete for would want to perform for different reasons, whether if they want to feel more accepted, more love, or whatever it is. I know of people there that would compete because they had a broken heart
Mm,
and they want to like look their best, be a winner,
mm,
because they are carrying that weight and it's a form of release for them.
mm-hmm,
So if there's a void, if there's something that you're trying to fill in, and so you keep going to these high performance things, whether it's in your career,
mm-hmm,
that's why there's so many people who are suffering from anxiety, even if they're high performers, because they think it's that winning, it's that
mm-hmm,
performing that would take them away from that void that they're trying to feel.
mm-hmm. So when that person who were heartbroken,
And
Isn't
she
it,
won. She
but
won.
she won, but isn't it,
Yeah.
it's a good, it was a fire for her to compete. Only, it's not only, I don't know, maybe part of it is to show that the ex, right? Hey, look at me now. But would you say also because, are there any other reasons why?
That's the growth in it. That's why when we're having a lot of hardships,
Mm,
I'm always grateful for them because it takes us to situations, circumstances where we become better, that we're becoming better versions of ourselves. So
so,
that's more of
mhm,
like an energy work on why we do, like a deeper work of why we do the things that we do. But, if we're talking about anxiety, like what you said earlier, it's related to trauma as well,
mhm,
right? That's why it can't be fixed because there's a lot of different ways that it's going on. Like for me, it was very traumatic for me recently, actually. I do work out. It's a gym called Jobs, and I am inspired by the women who are working out over there. They're just amazing people. The owner is amazing. The instructors are amazing. And when I first started working out, this was when Bella passed away.
mhm,
I I was doing my workout, but I wasn't like there giving it my all because I've been told so many times by my naturopath, you can't do extreme workouts anymore.
mhm,
You can't do cardio. Like I always have this thing that I have to be careful with my heart, with everything, right? And so that trauma I have to like overcome.
mhm,
And our instructor, she was noticing, and now that I'm giving it my all. And since they don't really know my background, that I
mhm,
really love working out and I used to give it my all, but they thought I wasn't just focused but there was this trauma that I had to deal with that I've
mhm,
worked on not having it anymore. And so that anxiety of being in the gym, me jumping around, boxing, kicking, you know, that's no longer my identity. And so I'm not anxious. I'm actually happy to be there.
mhm,
And I'm just happy to be doing the things that I love to do again. So it brings me happiness. Before, I would fake, like really perform because I need to
mhm,
perform because I'm there. Like I'm there working out with people. And so I would just kind of fake doing more cardio, or I'll take as much rest as I want to, because it's not because I'm thinking, oh my God, like, because actually I feel like my heart is already like overwhelmed. That's why I would take
mhm.
those pauses. But they actually would happen because I'm already anticipating that. And that's anxiety building in my body
Yeah.
once I
Mhm.
was able to get rid of my trauma, and now I'm really having fun and they're like seeing a different me.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. I love that. What a difference, isn't it? So to just to wrap this up, and I think we're gonna do another video about this because it's such interesting and great topic to talk about. So I think my closing remarks would be if you've been living with anxiety and telling yourself that this is just who you are, right? Oh, we want you to know something that you were not born anxious. And we learned it. Yeah, you learned to be, and anything that was learned can be unlearned.
yes, and I want to add, when it comes to anxiety, when it comes to energy, it's really just an overwhelming energy that you have to ground. So when you're feeling anxious, you really have to ground yourself more and be aware that I say one thing when I'm feeling anxiety, when I'm feeling just overwhelmed or if my world is spinning, I would
Mm,
say, Archangel Michael, please ground me. And I would suddenly feel like I'm grounded and I'm
hmm.
being brought back to focus. So that's on the energy standpoint of anxiety. Just do your grounding, do your meditations, and it does really make a difference, or even just sound healing. It really makes a big difference.
And with that, thank you all so much for joining us today.
So until next time, again, I would encourage everyone to subscribe. If you guys like what you're hearing from us, we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much and take care.